He had been there for so long no one even noticed him anymore, just another shadow at the back of the shelter. An old dog, silent and still. Everyday families walked past his kennel, they smiled at bouncing puppies, played with energetic young dogs and laughed at wagging tails. But him, he didn't even lift his head anymore. It was like he already knew no one would ever pick him. His name was Max. Once he had been strong, a proud German shepherd with bright eyes and a confident gait, but time had worn him down. His legs were stiff now, his fur thinned and dull, and those eyes, once filled with life, they now held nothing but quiet resignation. The shelter was always filled with noise, barking, yelping, the chatter of visitors searching for the perfect dog. Max never barked anymore. He lay curled on a worn-out blanket in the very last kennel, tucked into the farthest corner of the building, away from the sunlight and the hopeful glances. People didn't even glance his way. They wanted youth, they wanted energy, they wanted a future, not a reminder of the past. So Max stopped trying. No more tail wags, no more sitting up, no more hopeful eyes. Hope, after all, only hurts when it's offered again and again, and no one ever takes it. But everything changed on a day that began like all the rest. The shelter opened its doors, the air filled with sound, and into that sound stepped someone unexpected. Not alone, she held the hand of a child, and that child was about to see what no one else had. Elena Foster hadn't planned to adopt a dog, not that day, not any day. Really, she had only come to the shelter because her daughter Lily had asked. Repeatedly, endlessly, the kind of asking that comes with wide eyes and hopeful smiles, with carefully drawn pictures of puppies and notes that said things like, "Please, I'll take care of him, I promise." So on a quiet Saturday morning, Elena finally gave in. "We're just going to look," she reminded Lily as they stepped out of the car. "We are not bringing anyone home, I know," Lily replied, her voice bright with excitement, but her fingers gripped Elena's hand tightly. Just in case. The shelter was loud, just as Elena expected. Barking echoed down the halls, each kennel filled with wagging tails and eager eyes. Dogs jumped against metal bars, tongues out, paws reaching, desperate to be seen, to be chosen. Lily's eyes sparkled as she moved from one kennel to the next, stopping to giggle at a golden retriever puppy trying to chew its own tail. Elena followed behind, half smiling, half guarded. They passed row after row of kennels, each one louder than the last. So much movement, so much energy. Then Lily slowed. She stopped in front of a dark corner, her little brow furrowed. "Mom," she whispered, tugging at Elena's sleeve, "why isn't this one barking?" Elena stepped beside her, peering into the dim kennel. There, barely visible in the low light, lay Max, curled up, silent. Still, his head rested on his front paws. He didn't even look up, and in that moment something shifted. The noise of the shelter seemed to fade away, because for the first time someone had stopped. Lily pressed her face closer to the kennel bars, her hands wrapped tightly around the metal. Her voice was softer now, almost unsure. "Why is no one with him?" Elena crouched beside her, brushing strands of hair from Lily's face as she glanced inside. Max still hadn't moved. His body was thin, his coat patchy, his eyes were open but distant, like he was awake only because he had no choice. Before Elena could respond, a shelter worker walked by and paused, noticing where they were standing. "Oh," she said gently, her voice lowering, "that's Max. He's been here a while." "How long?" Lily asked, her small voice surprisingly steady. The worker sighed. "Over a year now. He's an older boy, came in after his owner passed away. The family didn't want him." Lily blinked. "They just left him?" The woman nodded slowly. "We tried posting his story online, put up signs, even lowered the adoption fee, but most People want younger dogs, puppies' dogs. That play and jump Max just kind of fades into the background. Elena felt something stir in her chest, not pity but something heavier. She looked again at Max, at his unmoving frame, at the untouched food bowl in the corner. Him doesn't even look up, Lily whispered. He used to. The worker added quietly. In the beginning he wagged his tail, sat up when someone walked by, but after months of being ignored he stopped trying. The silence that followed hung in the air like a weight. Lily knelt down slowly. I think he's still waiting, she said. Elena's throat tightened. She wanted to say something, to explain, to move on, but all she could do was stare into those tired, fading eyes, eyes that once held hope, eyes that maybe still had a little left. Lily didn't move right away. She simply sat there, just outside the bars, watching Max with quiet focus, not like a child watching a pet, but like someone waiting to be trusted. Can I try? She asked softly, turning toward Elena. Try what? Elena replied, her voice cautious. Lily extended a hand, her fingers small and still reaching just inside the kennel. Elena hesitated. Sweetheart, he might not come over. I know, Lily whispered. I just want him to know I see him. Max didn't lift his head, his ears didn't twitch, but his eyes, those deep, cloudy brown eyes, shifted just barely. Just enough. He saw her. Seconds passed. Long, quiet seconds, filled only by the distant barks echoing through the shelter. Lily didn't move. She didn't speak again. Her hand remained still, palm down, fingers relaxed. Then the smallest thing happened. Max's nose twitched. He shifted just a little. His bony frame moved enough for him to sniff at the air near Lily's fingertips, not close enough to touch, not quite, but it was something. A breath of curiosity. Elena's heart clenched. It wasn't much, but it was more than she had expected. The shelter worker watched quietly from a few feet away. He doesn't usually react, she said softly. Most days he just sleeps, won't even take treats. Still crouched beside her daughter, Elena felt something stir deep in her chest, the ache of a connection barely formed, something fragile and fleeting. Lily turned slightly toward her. He's not mean, he's just scared. Elena nodded slowly, her eyes never leaving Max. He didn't move again, but in that single uncertain sniff Elena saw something she hadn't seen in him before. A flicker, a thread, a sliver of hope still clinging to life. Elena stayed quiet, eyes locked on the frail body curled up behind the bars. There was something about Max that unsettled her, not in fear but in ache, a quiet aching kind of sorrow that sat just beneath the surface. The shelter worker stepped a little closer, voice softer now, respectful of the silence that had settled between them. He doesn't really respond to people anymore, she said gently. He spends most of the day like this, doesn't bark, doesn't eat much. We check on him, make sure he's okay, but he rarely moves unless we ask him to. Lily glanced up. Is he sick? No, sweetie, the woman replied, kind and honest. Not exactly. He's just very tired. Elena's arms folded instinctively, her brow furrowed, as she looked again at the food bowl in the corner, still full, untouched. The blanket beneath Max was too thin for the concrete floor. She wondered if he even felt cold anymore, or if he'd stopped noticing that too. What happened before he came here? Elena asked, her voice lower now, hesitant but genuine. The worker shrugged slightly. We only know bits. His file says he was surrendered by family after his owner passed. Beyond that, we're not sure. Elena didn't ask more. Somehow she already knew enough. She knew what it felt like to be left behind, to keep showing up only to be overlooked. And looking at Max, it was like seeing that feeling in physical form, breathing, fading, waiting. She knelt beside Lily again, and together they sat in silence, not to fill the Space but to honor it Max didn't lift. His head but his eyes heavy and hollow. Watched them and though his body stayed. Still something had shifted for the first time in a long time he wasn't alone. I'd like to meet him, Elena said. Quietly the shelter worker blinked. You mean outside the kennel? Elena nodded. Just for a few minutes there was a pause. Then a sigh. Okay, but I should be honest with you, Max hasn't gone outside in weeks. We try to walk him but he usually just stands there, won't budge. Elena exchanged a glance with Lily, who gave a tiny hopeful smile. Let's try anyway, Elena said. The worker unlocked the gate, slowly stepping inside with practiced care. Max didn't move, his eyes followed, but his body stayed curled still as ever. The leash was slipped gently over his neck, no resistance, no reaction, as if he didn't even feel it. Elena and Lily waited just outside the kennel watching in silence. Come on, buddy, the worker coaxed. Let's go for a walk. Nothing. Then Elena stepped forward and knelt beside the entrance. Her voice was barely a whisper. Max, it's okay. Lily crouched beside her, voice bright and full of something that hadn't quite given up yet. We'll go slow, you don't have to hurry. The leash grew taut as the worker gave a light tug, and then so slowly it almost didn't seem real. Max shifted his legs, trembled as he pushed himself upright. His body shook from the effort, each movement hesitant, like every joint had forgotten what it meant to carry him forward. Elena gasped softly, covering her mouth with her hand. Max took one step, then another, then stopped. That was it. Just 2 steps, and still no one spoke. Because for a dog who had forgotten how to hope, 2 steps were a miracle. Max stood frozen just beyond the gate of his kennel, legs trembling under his weight, breath slow and uneven. He didn't move forward, but he didn't retreat either. It was like he was caught between 2 worlds, the one that had broken him and the one he wasn't sure he deserved. Elena crouched at his level, the leash loose in her hand. You're okay, Max, she said softly. We're not going to rush you. Lily stood a step behind her mother, whispering, You're doing great, Max. Really great. The shelter worker watched quietly, arms crossed loosely over her chest. This is more than he's done in months, she said, her voice tinged with surprise. Max shifted his weight, his paws barely scraping the floor as he steadied himself. His cloudy eyes flicked from Elena to Lily, then back again. He didn't look hopeful, he looked unsure, like he was trying to figure out what came next, and if he was allowed to want it. Elena's gaze never left his face. He's been trying to survive, she said quietly to the worker, but no one's given him a reason to try living again. The woman hesitated, then nodded. Senior dogs are hard. It takes patience and a lot of heart. They don't always bounce back. Elena looked down at Max, her chest tightened. Maybe they don't need to bounce, she replied. Maybe they just need a soft place to land. The worker blinked. Are you saying? Elena stood slowly, still holding the leash. I'm saying I want to take him home. Lily let out a little gasp. Really? Elena looked at her daughter, smiled gently, then turned back to Max. He may be old, he may be tired, but he's not invisible. Not to us. The shelter worker exhaled a smile, tugging at the corner of her mouth. Well, let's get started on the paperwork. Max didn't understand the words, but as Elena knelt again to meet his eyes, something in her voice made his ears twitch, and maybe for the first time in a long time he let himself believe that this might not be another false moment. Maybe this time someone meant it. The car ride was quiet. Max lay curled up in the back seat, his frail body resting on a folded blanket Elena had brought from the trunk. He didn't whine, didn't move, didn't panic. He simply lay there, eyes half open, breathing slow and shallow, as if unsure whether this was all real. Elena glanced at him in the rear view mirror every few seconds each time her heart acted a little more. He looked so small back there, so tired, so fragile. Lily sat beside him, legs folded, hands in her lap. She didn't speak either, but every now and then she leaned forward, just slightly, making sure Max was still there, still breathing, still okay. When they finally pulled into the driveway, the late afternoon sun had turned soft and golden. Elena stepped out first, circling to open the back door. She crouched beside Max and whispered, "We're home, buddy." Max lifted his head, slightly, ears twitching at the unfamiliar sense. He didn't move, but he didn't shy away when Elena gently reached under his chest to help him out of the car. His legs wobbled as he stood. He hesitated, then slowly he took a step forward. The small fenced yard was quiet, the house cozy and calm. A bowl of fresh water sat on the porch next to a new dog bed Lily had picked out. Elena opened the door and stepped aside, giving Max space. He paused at the threshold. No metal bars, no concrete floors, no barking, just silence. He turned his head to look at her. "You're safe now," she whispered, and Max stepped inside. The first thing Max did wasn't lie down. He walked slow, unsteady, past the water bowl, past the soft bed waiting by the fireplace. He wandered through the quiet house, sniffing the corners, testing the silence. His paws made almost no sound on the hardwood floor. Then, without warning, he stopped in front of Elena and gently rested his head against her leg. Elena froze, breath catching in her throat. She lowered herself to the floor, eyes level with his. Her hand found its way into his coarse fur, stroking gently. "You're home now, Max," she whispered behind her. Lily knelt down and wrapped her arms carefully around his middle. Max didn't flinch, he didn't pull away, he let them in. That night he curled up on the dog bed by the fireplace, his body finally resting, his breathing soft and deep. His tail moved once, just a slow, lazy wag, but it was enough, because for a dog who had been forgotten, he had been seen. One little girl had asked, "What about him?" And in doing so she changed everything. Max wasn't a broken dog, he was a dog who just needed someone to believe in him again. And now, after so many days of silence, after so many nights alone, he wasn't waiting anymore. He was finally home.